Hey guys, Chicken Maine, Deboo.com with a Deboo.com Surf Forecast Update. This forecast update effective around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, January 1st, 2016. And guys, starts you off with an ancient rainbow warrior sign, the sign of the gorilla. And the gorilla looks like he is ready to pounce. You can see him right in here. I'm going to zoom in for you. For those of you who are unaware, here at Deboo.com, we believe in signs. And you can see, here's his eye right here. Here's the brow. Here's the mouth. Ancient rainbow warrior sign for the gorilla from Manila is coming. Now, why is this important? If you saw and read our update earlier this morning on Deboo.com, you know we were talking about the California drought, last couple of weeks, weird weather patterns, anomalous highs, so on and so forth. Here is the western coast of the United States, Baja Peninsula down in here. There's an area of weak low pressure right in here. We have this feature that is just to the north of the Hawaiian Islands. And then when we drop back down in here, there's another piece of energy along with this front right in here that looks to lift off towards the northeast and develop an area of low pressure. What that's going to lead to is it looks like that the Pacific is going to set up for a massive swell setting up with a strong area of low pressure developing in the extended forecast up in here in the Gulf of Alaska at the same time as a hurricane force low moving up off Japan into the northwest Pacific. We'll show you that later on in a separate update. But what's important here is the last 4 to 5 years, California has been under an extreme drought. Over the last year, precipitation has returned and increased, and currently 88% of the state's reservoirs are at historic averages. So the drought or the precipitation has allowed those reservoirs to fill up, and it looks like this is getting ready to set up a big plume of Pacific moisture moving into the western United States. This is the latest run of the GFS. It's just out last couple of hours. It just finished loading, and as you can see as we walk you through, here's that little weak area of low pressure. You can see that over Washington State and Oregon. It kind of dips down and moves off towards the west. And then this other energy that's here, the flow, like we've talked about before, the flow is like this, guys. Okay, so the jet stream is moving it like this. This is kind of spinning here like this. This is spinning here like this. It's going to move off this way at the same time as this plume sets up. Go back to the model and advance it a little bit more. Now this is going into 72 to 78 hours. So some deep moisture moving into Northern California and that plume starting. This moves you out to 5 days, and you can see that area of low pressure now is moving in towards the coast of Seattle as a 988 millibar low. And look at the precipitation now that comes in on the underside of that into California. This is day 7. Going into day 8, going into day 9, and look at this. This is inside of 10 days, guys. So look, another 983 millibar off the coast of Washington, and look at this heavy precipitation moving into California. Now, I'll back that back up, and we'll look back at this again one more time before we switch over to the Atlantic and show you what's going on there, guys. You can see how this is setting up in here. And then once that dips, what all this is pertaining to the Atlantic, if you read our update, there's blocking highs, almost mirror images. One that developed here in the Gulf of Alaska, and there's the other one that's over there off Greenland. What that in effect has done is taken this and makes it move into the United States. The blocking one that's over near Greenland does not let it move any further off towards the northeast or towards Europe, and therefore shoots the energy up into southern Canada. So we're going to switch over to the Atlantic side now. And again, going back to flow like we always talk about. So we know that we have west to east flow moving into the western United States. We've got this next frontal boundary that's in here like this. And we just had that area of low pressure that rapidly intensified in the Gulf of Maine. Models are hinting that this is going to set up again. So if you look at this flow, the flow is like this, and then wrapping up like this, and then the energy is coming down out of here, and the same type clipper-like type setup like we just saw with this previous low into the Gulf of Maine. Looks like a repeat performance, moving you out into the Atlantic, guys. Now here's the swell forecast end of it. For the surfers. For you non-surfers, bear with us for a few moments as we work through and get to you to the latest model runs. Here's this area of low pressure out here towards the Azores, guys. This is what we've been talking about in our updates over the last week or so, that an Azores low was going to develop. This is forecast to intensify into a storm over the next 48 hours, with seas increasing to near 30 feet and east-northeast swell. At the same time, another piece of energy is going to move into here. Here's Puerto Rico down in here, guys, Hispaniola and the Bahamas. Another area of low pressure, which was that double barrel low, part of that double level low feature, developed right in here and increasing some northeast fetch. Show it to you in the latest model run. This is the 12Z GFS. This is an outlier for right now, guys. The Euro is just a little bit different, but we're going to show you the Euro today. We forgot to show it to you in the last video update. Picking up where we left off on that last video update. Here's that 1046 millibar high up in here, southeast of the tip of Greenland. Here is this area of low pressure we just showed you in the satellite imagery. And here's another second piece of energy that's going to be part of that double barrel low. We're going to advance the model for you. And as that low intensifies into a storm, here's where we start to get that pulse coming from the northeast Atlantic heading over towards our side. And then look, off Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, a northerly surge is fixing to develop. Now, this is in day 3 coming up, 72 hours. Look, we've got northeast fetch in here, aimed at the islands in here, but here's the negative for East Coast United States. We talked about this a few moments in the last update. This is going to get a strong offshore flow in here. So it may be that we get robbed on the East Coast, and all of this swell generation is going to be aimed at the islands, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and down in here towards the Caribbean. Advance the model for you a little bit. There's hope for us coming up right in here, East Coast surfers. Notice that this area of low pressure, though, is still sticking around in the Azores. This is at 5 days, guys. So confidence is pretty good within a 5-day window. Another OBX low moving off. That's going to increase northeast winds just off the Outer Banks. And we've already had pre-existing northeast ground swell developing. We'll show you that in the swell model here in just a few moments. But let me just back that up now. Look, this is negative swell production in here. This is west-southwest swell moving against northeast swell. But as we advance the model and this area of low pressure develops here, that goes away. And now we get into a strong northerly component in here on top of that northerly component that was pre-existing due to that high pressure and the first development of that Azore storm. Now look at this. This area of low pressure now is starting to come back out towards the Azores. This is going to start to increase again. East-northeast ground swell aimed at the islands in here. This is persistent in here day on end. And then as we get into day 7, high pressure moving into the Outer Banks, and another strong northerly flow and push. This is going to push a lot of water this way, guys, if this verifies. This is within 10 days, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But look, strong east-northeast ground swell coming out of the east-central Atlantic with a strong northerly surge coming off Nova Scotia, wrapping all the way down in here to the Bahamas. And look down here north of Puerto Rico, a secondary low along that front. Now watch what happens here as I advance into the 10-day. And this is 10 days, guys. This is what we were talking about earlier. Although we're holding off on officially announcing possible major swell event, the models are already starting to hint. Now, if we jump over to the European model, I'm going to have to back this up now, get it back to where we are. And this is current now. So here's this Azores low. Here's this 1043 stack. It's another high pressure out here towards Bermuda that's going to settle back down towards the southeast. So both models are showing us the same thing. We work through day 5 and look to see if we can get any agreement in the model. This is day 5 of the Euro. Let's switch back to day 5 of the GFS. at 120. We look here, and there are some differences. Still Azore low here, but a stronger low here than what the euro is showing. But if we advance the euro more, it still brings in a strong low, and then here comes this high pressure. So now it's starting to agree with the GFS. High pressure coming in and frontal low energy right in here, and still persisting at day 8 with this Azore low, day 9 and day 10. And look at this pinch south of Newfoundland, southeast of Nova Scotia, northeast winds in here, 30, 35 knots with this strong tight gradient aimed in here. Now that's onshore flow, guys. So I know that everybody wants to know when the offshore winds. The important part to remember is that at least we have the ocean heading in this direction, giving us surf. So it looks like large swell heading towards the east coast of the United States up over the next 10 days or so. But more importantly, look at this high pressure block in here. And what this looks to do is possibly trap this in here. If you remember last year, same time, during this time frame, which is going to be, let me advance the GFS out to January 11th. Last year, this time, although it was over here to the right of the screen, we were talking about Hurricane Alex in January. If this GFS model was to verify, and this is at 9 days, guys, 1042 millibar high, just northeast of the Azores, that's east wind flow and easterly swell, 20 to 25 knots in here, wrapping up into a strong area of low pressure that's producing northeast ground swell, and another northeast coming off this big high pressure right in here north of the Great Lakes. That's all we got for you for now. Stay tuned for the next update.